Airport Advisory Board. Has pledge allegiance.
Mike, pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the minutes for the last meeting. A chance to look over them real quick, and then we need approval of the minutes.
I'd like to move for approval, Pat.
I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any public comments at this time? Being there's no public comments, we'll continue on. Item number 5, update of taxway reconfiguration project.
Okay, just stay. Oh, sorry, Lou. Good afternoon, Board. Just a quick update on our taxiway reconfiguration project. As you can see by the slide, we're about 46 days into the project. To this point, we've been billed a little bit over $300,000, about 10% complete. Just some photos of the progress. Here's a picture of, I believe that'd be the new taxiway Charlie, north of 927, being laid out. Here is the milling of the former taxiway Echo. This is some trenching for conduit this is a removable conduit for taxiway Echo. Drainage being installed on the new taxiway Charlie. That's all the photos we have. By the next board meeting, within the next 3 months, you'll see 2 new taxiways. Runway 1836 and 927 will be back in service, and we will have begun all of our repairs along the edge of the ramp. So any questions you may have, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to take a tour of the airport construction. I understand it's well within the confines of the schedule, maybe 1 or 2 days delay because of weather, but everything is as scheduled.
Correct. As of now, 1836 is scheduled to be open on April 6th.
The next question I have is, since we have had a number of entities closed on the ramp, et cetera, have you had much pushback from any stakeholders?
Not recently. I mean, when we first rearranged Taxiway Bravo, there was, some pushback just because of the changes on the airfield, but since people have gotten used to it, we haven't had any issues.
Thank you, Mitch. Discussion and action on a new T-hanger storage unit lease.
Good afternoon. We have the new T-hanger storage unit lease. A few things have been brought over from the T-hanger lease that we currently have. A couple of things that have been updated are the storage of items. It no longer states that there's aircrafts. Also, the commercial use of units are strictly prohibited, so no commercial use or working on planes on the T-hangers or anything like that. And then also the insurance requirements now meet the needs of a storage unit rather than a hangar that holds aircrafts. So there's a few changes, but we do have a copy of the lease. So we're just looking for approval of this in order for the airport director to sign for it rather than the city manager.
And this will go before city council, so after your approval, we'll take it to city council for approval, and the reason it's coming to you as a blanket is because it gives the power of signature to the airport director, just like we did with the T-hangers, since we have so much turnover.
What specific items are you asking for approval?
The whole lease.
Put a motion to approve the new storage unit lease.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Do you have a question? This is a little bit off agenda. This is strictly storage units as opposed to T-hangers.
That is correct.
I do have a question just at the last verse of the meetings. We did approve the minutes of the meeting. Last meeting, you mentioned on the T-hangers, you utilized for comps 23 airports for rates.
For the rates, yes.
Right.
That was the rates of the T-hangers for the.
Or I should say for many things, but you used 23 airports.
Correct.
My question is, you only listed certain airports such as Grand Prairie, Fort Worth Sphinx, Stillwater, Abilene, Lubbock, Addison. Quite a few of these airports, if you look at the airport master record, I don't know if everybody knows what an airport master record is, but it basically is the FAA's take on an airport. Addison has 610, I'm talking about fixed wing aircraft, singular, multi. And the low was clean, or I should say Roswell, but I would like in the future, if we get more definitive reports on when you do comps. So if you had 23 airports, and I only have like 10, and I only have the facts on 10, I can't even do the research myself on what were the other 23 airports to make a lucid judgment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
More questions on the T-hanger storage? Thank you, Lindsay. Update and discussion on the non-aeronautical land areas.
Last time we discussed with our KSA planners the pavement prioritization plan, and one of the concepts that went to you and then to council was the future closure of runway 927. So I have asked Molly Waller with KSA to come back and give us an update on her continuing work.
Molly Waller with KSA. Happy to be here with you today.
Glad you're here.
Yes. And what we're going to talk about today is you voted and approved, and then City Council voted and approved to close runway 927. And that's depicted on the graphic. I'm sorry, I've forgotten how to draw. Do I just touch and draw?
Go ahead.
Okay. The closure of runway 927, what it does is it opens up space which is currently occupied by your runway protection zone as well as imaginary surfaces for development, both along the existing flight line as well as beyond those services into the what could be considered a business or an industrial park on the entrance into the airport. So what we did is we put together 3 different land use alternatives, and you'll see them on your screen. We provided new roads throughout the property that would provide access to various sized lots. These could be used for offices. There's an example right there. It could be used for self-storage, an example of that right there. We've got a hotel and a gas station, which may not be warranted at this point in time. But most importantly, how this impacts the airport is, and your interest, of course, is this area right down here. And what we did is we laid out additional aircraft storage hangars, taxiways, apron areas, and vehicular parking to show what an infill of that area would look like after the runway protection zone for runway 9 is removed. The runway protection zone essentially was a trapezoid that's not sized appropriately, but it really prohibited development in this area as well as the height of structures. So what you'll see on this graphic is we included large hangars for something like an MRO facility, a maintenance and ready overhaul facility. Again, additional aircraft storage hangars. Your flight line is getting relatively crowded, and so this alternative provided access from the existing apron back to this, oh, I forget, it was the paint hangers, which are right back in this area. It extended the paint hanger operation. Not the operation, but it extended the hangars over towards the road to provide some additional storage. This area that we've got noted right here, we're noting as expansion of government use. Right now, you've got Customs and Border Patrol that are expanding their footprint over there. Those agencies often like to see the ability to expand their footprint and to bring things in even such as office buildings. Corpus Christi International Airport recently had the Coast Guard build a large office facility on the airport as well as a hangar for some helicopters. Once you have an entity like that on your airfield, the expansion is more likely than those that don't have it on their airfield. So this was one alternative that we looked at. Lou, can you go to the next one?
That's it, ma'am. Did you provide me only one?
No, there are three, but that's okay. We can talk to them.
They're all the same.
Okay, we're fine. The other alternatives, what we did, and we've discussed this with staff, is this hangar area went away, and we provided even a larger governmental footprint that could go in that area. That was another alternative that we looked at. This part of the airfield, they're a little bit more limited on alternatives. And so the area that's circled didn't change among the three. These are just ideas at this point in time. These are just things that are put onto paper that show if runway 927 is closed, you do have some ability to expand your aircraft storage hangars, your aprons, and then kind of an industrial type footprint out in that area, office park, things like that. Again, bisecting the property with access roads and cul-de-sacs to give you access to the various sized lots. So that was the final part of this plan. We will go ahead and wrap it up and put it under cover. And then I believe that the FAA, because of the closure of runway 927, is anticipating some additional planning to be done at the airport, and of course, this study will be folded into that.
The additional study, as they've asked us to do in January, to do a new master plan, since there are so many changes to the airport, the FAA thinks that it's a good time to go ahead and update our master plan. So during the master plan process, we will enter into more discussions about the non-aeronautical use too, and the aeronautical, of course.
When will 927 be closed officially?
Right now, it all depends on the pavement itself. Right now, we're right at 52 on the PCI, the Pavement Condition Index. So depends on the weather, how bad the winters are, how much water and moisture and freezes, et cetera. But right now, we're still operational. I cannot give you a date. I think 2 years, but it could be sooner if we have a bad winter.
Okay, I'm going to ask a elementary question. I guess all of this will remain property of the city of San Angelo. I mean, you're not planning on selling any of this?
Correct.
Okay,
All of it within the airport.
okay.
It's all grant encumbered, and so you're not able to sell airport property without getting approval from the FAA.
This is all AIP project, right?
Pardon me?
This is all AIP work, some of it anyway.
Some of it is the airside, not the hangars necessarily, but you can put funds towards airfield pavements.
AIP restricts any private.
Yes, yes.
There's several grant assurances that protect the federal funding.
I just didn't know how much of the real estate was encumbered by the grant process. I
Everything,
guess all of it?
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
One of your ideas was to eliminate that, I guess, the existing paint shop right now. Is that what it is?
It's not eliminated, it's still there.
It's-
No,
it-
but you said 1 year was going to eliminate that. You put
No,
in
it didn't, it eliminated the rest of these.
Oh, okay.
What we wanted to do was this government or contracting, we need to weigh the options on how much land should be set aside for that, because as the, Border Patrol grows, they may require a bigger footprint. And if your airport can show that ability, it means they may choose San Angelo over another location. So these different alternatives, essentially the purple area continued to get larger.
These alternatives also gives us the opportunity to meet with MROs or other entities just to show them what the potential is at the airport when we go to conferences, et cetera. try to market our airport a little bit better.
Okay, Lewis, I'm gonna go east of the main runway. How much of that area is available for development, or is any of it available?
Everything north of 927 to the housing is available for development between the two runways. And that will be shown in the master plan as we get into the master plan process. And we're getting ready to put together an RFQ, request for qualifications, and put it out. I do have to select a new, not a new, but I need to select a planner for this through our FAA grant assurances. So when we do, and we get into the master plan, all of that will be involved. The whole airport will be looked at. And the FAA directed us to do that this year, so before October.
Do you foresee any big changes being pushed upon us by the FAA?
The biggest change is the one that you approved last board meeting, which is they're not gonna fund a third runway. So if we wanted to keep a third runway, it was upon the city to do so.
Okay.
So you and the city council both agreed, we're not gonna do that.
I just didn't know if they had something else up their sleeve to try to, okay.
But since we do have a lot of geometry changes on the airport, they do want us to take a look at a new master plan. And it is fully funded, well, not fully funded, it'll be a 90-10 funded from the FAA, 90% from the FAA, 10% from the passenger facility charges that we charge.
What that master plan will do, I know we talked about Taxway Hotel at the last meeting and different options for when 927's closed. It's gonna justify projects. This is when you asked about major changes to the airfield. This blue alignment of Taxway Hotel is something you'd look at in a master plan. You would look at different alternatives and essentially justify it to make it eligible for that AIP funding assistance. So those are the things. This study was really focused on 927 and the available land use development. Should that runway be closed? Your master plan is going to do that whole level of analysis on the entire airport.
Bobby, I don't have an aerial here, but all of this land will be, too much, will be available for development too. I went too much here on the
Okay,
sideline.
okay, yeah, no, that was, then I'll ask, because I'm just oblivious here. If you decided not to use 927, or, well, since it's being closed, would there be any reason, or would it be practical to keep it open as a taxiway?
That discussion was made at the last time, and
Sorry.
keeping,
No,
that's
you're
okay. Doing a parallel taxiway to our instrument runway, one, it's required and we don't have it, and it's beneficial rather than keeping a taxiway over here.
Okay, okay.
But that'll all be looked at in great detail and input will be obtained from the FAA during your master planning process.
Sorry, I didn't mean for you to repeat something that I missed,
Okay.
but.
That's all right. And during the master plan process, we will have quite a bit of public input, tenant input. We will have a master plan committee put together,
Okay.
and the mayor has already shown interest to be part of that committee. So,
Thank you, Molly.
any other questions? Sorry, Molly. I thought I had all the alternatives there.
Now we're up to the director's report.
It's going to be short and quick today. Just statistics from 2017 versus 2016. Our air traffic went up almost 10%. Fuel flowage, kind of stagnant, kind of flat, only 0.4% decrease. Passengers, we took a major hit, 6% decrease, and probably that's because we lost that fourth flight through most of the year in 2017. But our load factor, again, if you lose capacity, went up 8.5%. Kind of given, if you lose capacity, load factor will tend to go up. And our rental car revenue's gone steadily at 3% every year. Some years double digits, but 3% this year. I do not have
Essentially,
the,
we're basically stable. That's,
yes. Passengers went down, But we're back to 4 flights this year, and it's doing pretty good. But I am happy that air traffic went up 10%. There's something given there for the economy. And that's the extent of my director's report, sir.
Any future agenda items that we want to talk about?
Yes. As a new member of the Airport Advisory Board, but possibly other members I'll speak for as well. I'm not familiar with what's been going on with the Airport Service Committee. Is there any possibility we can get a debrief on what's going on with that particular committee? You're on it. I think, of course, the mayor is on it, but.
Oh, the Air Service Committee.
Air Service.
Yes, we can give you we will give you a report.
Yeah, so I think we should get some kind of a debrief on that.
Yes.
Or status on it. The other thing, you mentioned public participation, particularly when you get into a closer data on the airport master plan. And I just wonder, why are we not getting a whole lot of participation? You and I talked about pilot participation. It seems like there is a cynicism, and I don't know where it's coming from, but maybe lack of communication, maybe, it doesn't show up. This airport meeting today is not on the city's calendar. We've got a notice from you, for instance, but it's not on the airport calendar. And a lot of people use that airport calendar and ask on email, I want to be alerted to this and this and this, and it doesn't exist here. The website that we have still lists the Mathis, the Above the Clouds restaurant, which doesn't even exist anymore. So I'm just wondering, there seems to be a little bit of disconnect between our public face and what's going on internally. So I'd like to kind of see if we can have some ideas on that anyway.
Okay. We'll take a look at the website and update it as soon as we can, and we'll look into it.
All right, any more questions or comments? Well, at this time, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.